Welcome to another session of Rich Life Projects, and today on board is a pioneer of MMA, one of the Australian leading judo coaches and competitors back in the day, Dan Kelly. Welcome, my friend.
Thanks for having me on, Rich.
Mate, it's a pleasure and appreciate your time. What has been happening in the Dan Kelly's life?
A lot of judo.
Yeah.
Already spent 17 weeks away this year.
Wow.
With judo, I've actually taken on a full-time role with the national team, and we've got a centralised system down here now. So qualifying for Paris has started, and obviously we just came off our most successful Commonwealth Games team ever. With 10 of 11 people getting medals.
Wow, that's sensational.
Double the medals we've ever gotten before. So it's all going well with that, but yeah, flat out judo.
Judo, and the gym's going well, obviously, in Footscray here in Melbourne.
Yeah, Resilience Training Centre, 86 Fucking Street, Footscray. Thanks,
get in
Rich.
there, brother.
All going well. We just had our Alta finale, or which used to be called Wimp to Warrior last week.
Yep.
So we've got a whole heap of Amis coming through. Alta/Wimp to Warrior. I love the concept.
That was the Wimp to Warrior and the concept, and then it changed to Alta. Why did it change? What was the difference?
So they did a new global branding.
Okay.
Apparently in America, Wimp's a derogatory comment.
Right.
Because they're trying to break into the American market a little bit, Alta's now here now, whereas down here we don't really care.
Yeah, you're either Wimp or you're not.
Exactly,
right.
But it's a great concept. 20 weeks training, 5 mornings a week, have an MMA fight at the end.
Yeah, right.
So,
and the numbers, how many numbers you get to those?
So this one was quiet. This one was about 25.
Okay.
Pre-COVID, we were 35, 40 people in a program, so it was awesome.
And they actually fight in the cage. The guys have never fought before, and then they jump in and have their first fight.
They have
a bit like Corporate Fighter.
100%, exactly like Corporate Fighter. They have an MMA fight at the end, and it's great. I mean, various different reasons, like a bucket list item for people who need a change. We had a lot of people coming out of COVID, like the isolation, lockdown, all that kind of stuff, who really needed a leg up, and it really helped them. So yeah, because John Kavanagh, he was involved. Is he still involved? Yeah, he is. He's actually the first ever Wimp to Warrior session I did was at his gym in SBG.
Oh, okay.
So I was over there training, and he asked me to do a session. By the time I got back, obviously Nick Langdon, Rich Cranny own Wimp to Warrior. They were like, "Hey, do you want to run a season down here?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah,
so it was good.
Oh, good. And that brings sort of new people who have never seen probably MMA or anything like that into the gym as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We do get a lot of retention from that as well. But some people have never done MMA, don't know anything about it, do the program, and then they're hooked on martial arts.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's a plus, isn't it?
Yeah,
and it's like, as you know, as we all know, with the martial arts, just changed lives, especially when they're just doing it for the first time. And they've got to go through that strict, it's 20 weeks, I'm going to get off the piss. I'm going to, try and eat right. And a lot of people do that for their bucket list to change their lives as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I kind of split it into two categories: people who are doing it to challenge themselves in a different way, who are already successful, and people who really need it, who need like a quick win, in life to show that they can start something and finish it.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest one, and those people are the ones that get the most benefit out of it.
Yeah.
We had a social worker do it in the first season. I love telling the story. He knew nothing about MMA, but he's from the nice side of town, never really had any bad experiences, and if I'm going to relate to the people I'm working with, I need to somehow manufacture myself to be under some kind of duress.
That's right.
And that's why I did the program.
Yeah, beautiful.
And it was fantastic. And then he left, never did martial arts again, but that was a bucket list item ticker for him.
But it's like when you do martial arts, you take that into your ordinary day life. So what he probably would have learned in 20 weeks, he would have taken back to the office and said, this is what happens when you get under stress. This is what you got to go. This is your thinking process. So yeah, it's definitely a good thing to do. A good thing to do. So let's go back to the early days of Dan Kelly, the little boy. So you realistically, you've been in judo since 7 years of age.
Yep, started judo at 7.
7. Where you're born and bred in Melbourne, and you started judo at 7. Was that anything else, any other sports that you took up at that time?
Yeah, I was playing AFL footy as well. My dad did judo. So that's how I got
the family sort of
family thing. Come down, have a go. Never really stopped, but played footy up until I was under 16s and a little bit in under 19s and seniors.
Yep.
Always loved footy. Yep. But yeah, always suck at it. Was my dream to go to the Olympics from when I was in grade 5.
Wow, so, that's a good goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sticking to it. So you first, obviously, you started at age 7. You went through to age 13. That's when you first had your judo championship. What's all that? That's leading up to that.
So that's nationals. So I was a little bit of a later developer in terms of probably physically a little bit weak, small, scrawny.
Yep.
And then I didn't really do well until I was about 15, 16.
Okay.
So I stuck at it until then, and then the ball started rolling a little bit then.
Yeah, so. Okay. Did you do any, why did you get into judo other than your father? Was it, as you say, progressing through those years of underdeveloped, and was it anything to do with getting teased or bullied or anything like that, or it was just your body and that's how it was?
No, I unfortunately a little bit when I was younger, but I mean, I'm sure every person who goes into combat sports was probably bullied as a kid.
Has some sort of story why they went into it.
Why they went into it. I don't know if I stuck at it because of that.
Yeah.
I just kept going and then and enjoyed it, and then went, the dream's here and let's see where we can go.
Yeah.
So
yeah, right. So you went obviously national team, junior national team in 1994. That's a lot of years ago. 94. When you get to that stage and you get into the national team, what's the actual mindset and the feeling like when you go, wow, I've been at this since 7 years of age and now I'm in the junior national team? What's that sort of, how did you feel at that stage of your life?
Oh, I was proud. A lot of, at my club, a couple of the girls were quite good and national senior champions. So we were a small club. Yeah, it was proud, but it was just a next step.
Yeah,
next step. I was always looking to the next step kind of thing. It wasn't until 96 when I started going overseas that I really realized that what I was up against kind of thing.
Yeah. When you get the difference when you're sort of, I suppose, at the level in Australia, so to your home country, and then you step up, and obviously you fought at world class levels in other sports as well. But yeah, that's a big eye opener, isn't it? When you get to the world stage and you're like, hang on, I thought I was actually not too bad.
Yeah, well, Australia are minnows in judo. In reality, we're really low level compared to a lot of others, especially back then.
Yeah,
a little bit better now in some areas, but yeah, it was just shit. This is not going to be so easy.
Yeah,
so, and that was just fuel really to keep
motivation
to keep pushing.
Okay, just to get that. Okay, well now I'm at the World Juniors. So you went on to obviously after the junior championships, then you went on to make the senior team 2 years later. Difference in regards to levels, obviously fighting juniors, and then you go to the senior levels. As you say, at the world stage is a little bit different in that way. And the team, what was the team involved? Obviously, I think judo back in the 94 to 96 it still wasn't really mainstream media. Was it back then?
Not in Australia, no. In the rest of the world, it was big. I mean, in France, it's huge.
I think China and all that.
Japan, it's massive.
Okay.
Korea, China, it's reasonably big, but China's got so many people. They
true.
They're good at a lot of sports. Eastern Europe with the Russians, because of Sambo, and it was an Olympic sport, so that was it's massive. It was massive everywhere else. And first senior world titles I went to was in 97, and that was in Paris in the Bercy Centre. And there's 10 or 15,000 people in there watching. You're shitting yourself. I've never had that many. I didn't realize that many people knew what judo was. So that was a big experience.
Yeah.
And then I was 19, turning 20. Then I was one of the youngest in the team at those times. So,
yeah, right.
So I went from youngest, and I mean, for me, it wasn't. For me, it felt quick. I suddenly was the oldest, but
definitely. But when you're sort of that young and going into the senior national team for judo, and then you're in, say, Paris, and you got the 15, 20,000 people, what's that experience like internally and your mindset going, wow, because you've probably never fought in front of that many people before.
No, it was eye-opening, but it's an awesome experience too.
Oh, 100%.
How many people get the opportunity to do that? So even at the time at 19, I was self-aware enough to go, well, shit, I'm nervous, but it's like, well, how cool is this?
Yeah.
You know? So, and I won one match, lost my second in at those championships, which was okay. But yeah, it was just another great experience that I got to go through.
Yeah, wow, that's great. And so once you've gone in the national teams, overall, you're going through the ranks and you've won the Australian title, obviously up to nine times. Is that correct?
Yes,
9 times a national champion. Did it get to the stage where once you've won 9 titles, you're like, I'm a bit bored of this. I need to be motivated with something else, or?
Well, it's just at times it was also a box ticker. So you had to win nationals to go overseas. Now that's changed to world ranking list. It's results you get overseas more so than what you do domestically.
Oh, true.
But it's still a box ticker. You still have to be the number one in the country to be able to go places.
To travel.
Yeah.
Well, how many, in saying that when you've obviously 9 times champ, what is the most you've travelled, obviously, because you travel extensively all over the world. How many countries would you say you've travelled because of the judo experience?
Shit, 40, 50.
Really?
Easily, because we don't always get to go to the nicest, best countries. Like I'm going to Uzbekistan next week.
Yeah, right.
We've been to Georgia, we've been to Kyrgyzstan, we've been to I've been to Tunisia, I've been to Egypt.
Well, what's the most memorable, like if something hit you and someone said, out of your sporting experience and you've travelled the world, in what country would you say, or what experience would you say really you can remember, like sits in your mind and you go, that was probably a great experience?
And that's a good one. Like there's a few countries I love going to.
Yeah.
Like my wife's Hungarian, so Budapest I always love going to. Prague's a beautiful city as well. Not with judo, but with MMA. Got to go to Dublin.
Yep.
That's an awesome place, and also Montreal.
Yeah, Dublin. Okay. I always hear Dublin's a beautiful place.
Beautiful. But I love Central Europe.
Yeah, right.
So that was one of the coolest places to go, and also Egypt.
Oh, really? Yeah.
It was interesting as well, only because you went to the pyramid and had all that stuff. The place wasn't that nice. There was there's no traffic lights, it seems there. I was there in 2005, and I swear every car on the road had a ding in it.
Oh, yeah.
There was no lanes, and everyone was going everywhere. It was a circus.
Nothing like the Thailand. There's millions of cars in Thailand, and if you do something wrong, you just get your horn beeped.
Yeah, exactly.
Move out of the way. Exactly. Yeah, right. In Egypt, they smash into each other. Wow. So that's a massive experience. And you're the only competitor realistically to fight when it comes to judo, to fight in all 4 different Olympic games.
Yeah, so my wife actually has competed in 5, but 2 of them were for Hungary.
Oh,
so she's done 3 for Australia, 1 bronze in Sydney, and I'm the only Australian who's competed in 4 Olympics for judo. So for Australia.
So so when you get to that stage, you've again at the age of 7, as you say, at a very young age, you go, I want to fight the Olympics. When you get selected for the Olympics, then you're going to your first Olympics. You've done 4 of them, but when you go to your first one, what's that experience like? That's like you've reached your pinnacle. You've gone, this is my dream. This is what I want to do ever since I was a kid. What's that? And where was the first Olympics that you turned up?
Sydney.
Oh, right.
That memory will stay with me forever. Like walking out.
Was that the 2000?
2000.
Oh, well, that would have been crazy.
Walking out for the opening ceremony.
Okay.
I remember us being underneath the stadium.
Yeah, right.
And the whole place shaking.
Yeah,
and then when we're walking out, like 100,000 people screaming for the Australian team. That memory will stay with me forever. Yeah. And then the competition as well. I've never been so nervous in my life.
Yeah, right.
First round, I had an American guy who was Olympic silver medalist in 92.
Wow.
He beat me earlier that year.
Yeah, okay.
I beat him at the games, 1, 2, and lost 2. Finished old top 10, which I don't really count. Like top 8 up, we count.
Yeah.
But it was a great experience.
I was going to say.
22, 23.
Wow.
I spent a lot of time on the mat. Had 4 matches. So, yeah, it was like Sydney's the one that, always stays in my heart the most because it was the first one as well.
Yeah, right. And the other ones you travelled to, I think there was Rio, Japan.
So Rio and Japan, I was coaching.
Yeah.
Athens, Beijing, England as competitors. Athens is where I got my best result.
I was going to say, Athens is more like where they say the Olympics started.
Yes.
That would have been a great experience too.
It was
in regard
very cool.
hometown or home country of the Olympics, and you're competing there, and you got your best result, you say?
Yeah, got best result, finished top 8 there. That was good. It was funny though. Like the Greeks are pretty laid back.
Yeah.
So on the day of the opening ceremony in the village, they're rolling out grass to be put down, like while all the athletes are around. By halfway through the games, there's tiles falling off the walls and stuff like that. They didn't care at all.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, that was a cool experience, and I've never been back to Greece since.
Oh, haven't you? Right.
So it was really cool because Greece isn't a huge judo country. There's some really strong athletes from there, but not a huge.
They're
judo
more.
country.
Would they be more the wrestling? The Greek?
They do a bit of wrestling, but I don't think they're a huge sporting nation anymore.
Okay.
So I think they've got a lot of economic issues as a country as well.
True.
So
wow, what an experience to go back to the homeland of Olympics itself. So then you go to obviously the other ones you competed at,
Beijing and London. Didn't do as well in them as I want. So London was interesting. It was a little bit political. I actually coached 4 other people in the team.
Okay,
and I fought a higher weight division. There was a new world ranking list system. So the only way for me to go was to compete. And so I fought up a weight division from what I would normally do.
Okay.
Qualified through the world ranking list, but was there for the athletes that I helped along the way as well. So, so it was a little bit of a navigation there. But it's also good to be able to qualify under this new world ranking system that they had as well.
New system going now.
So yeah.
Yeah, okay. Wow. That's pretty crazy. And again, obviously the Rio, Japan, the Summer Olympics. When you went to your 4th Olympics and you said, all right, obviously the age, obviously you're going 4 years each time at the Olympics, so obviously the age is going up and up and up. And then what sort of was your passion then once you finished obviously Olympics then to go, right, now I'm going to go and coach?
Well, I was already coaching before.
During that, okay.
So I coached athletes 2008 and 2012 at a club level. Yeah, right. And so then I started being national coach, still had my club, but it just organically happened.
Yeah, as it probably would after four Olympics and getting older. So once you've gone through the Olympics, you've changed your hand. You've obviously the judo champion that you are and was. You've turned to MMA. How was that for you when you change? Obviously from the judo throws, everything else to do with judo. Then you come into MMA where you got to then learn everything: the boxing, kickboxing, all the rest of it. How was that transition for the Dan Kelly?
That was interesting. So I actually wrestled at Commonwealth Games in 2002.
Did you?
So I've always done different sports. From 2007, I was also doing BJJ as well to complement my training. And I retired for a couple of years after 2008. I actually had 4 kickboxing fights in that time because I love competition. And I've always been a fan of MMA. Now, I didn't necessarily put all the pieces together that that's the path I'd take. But then once 2012 finished, an opportunity popped up and I went, yeah, sure. We'll see how it goes. And then it just kept going from there. Like I learned a lot of my striking just in between times. Like I was working at a restaurant 45 hours a week, 50 hours a week, coaching the judo club and then sneaking to do kickboxing and MMA training in around when I could. And then just took off from there.
Yeah, okay. Because that was your pro MMA in 2006. Obviously, get into the pro. You know how that was. Where was that? Where was that hosted at? In Melbourne here, or was it?
No, that was in Melbourne. That was something called Dojo KO.
Okay.
So that was on a raised blood sport platform.
Oh,
and one of the ways you could win was to throw your opponent off the platform onto the ground. So that's how I won. I actually fought a guy called Ross Dallo who'd had 5 MMA fights when I had him. Yeah. And that's how I won. Second round, threw him off 3 times in a round.
So if you throw them off the platform 3 times.
And you don't go off with them. Yeah. You win the fight.
Yeah, really?
So
wow. I don't think I've ever seen that.
No, it was really interesting. And Hector Lombard's the one who got me into that.
Oh, did he?
So he was training at the old Hangar 4, like the original one. George Soteropoulos was there, so was Sam Greco.
Hangar 4, I'm just trying to think. That wasn't Carl Draper back then?
No, that was back then. It was a guy called Tyrone Cross.
Okay.
Like a long, long time ago.
Yeah.
And then Hector came in one night and goes, "Oh, do you want to have a fight?" So I've never boxed before.
Yeah.
2006. He goes, "No problem. No problem." And then he proceeded to try and knock me out in sparring. I'm like, "Hector, I've never done this. You'll be fine. So 2 weeks later, we had a fight.
Wow.
And then I went back to judo.
Yeah, I was going to say, was that when you had that pro debut? Obviously, it's sort of, you had the time off, the 6 years going back to, obviously, with judo commitments. When you finished up the judo commitments, you're like, this is, I'm done there. But what was the part where you went back to the judo commitments and then you went, okay, I've got an opportunity to go back into MMA. What was that mindset in regards to, okay, I'm going to put all my time into MMA?
Well, it didn't start like that. It started with me going, I love MMA. I want to challenge. Man, it was hard to get a match up to start with.
Was it? Okay.
And they wanted to give me like guys who'd had 20 fights for my second fight kind of thing. And I was like, so I ended up fighting a guy called Fabio Galeb.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So, and he'd had 5 or 6 fights, I think. And yeah, that was a crazy experience as well. But I didn't really, until I cut down to 84, I didn't really push that hard. So I was still fighting. I think I fought that one at 96.
Oh, okay.
And then after I fought again in South Australia, I went, they're a little bit too big. I'll cut down to 84.
Yeah.
But it was funny. When I first said I'd do it, they all laughed at me and said, you're never going to make 84 kilos. And then that was where my career was.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah. And then it wasn't until the opportunity with the house came up that I went, we'll give this a real roll of the dice. And when I was 35, nearly 36.
Yeah, right. Is that when you, when did you go? Because obviously you went back to MMA after the judo commitments. But then 2012, I think you come back. You had 5 wins.
Yep.
And then you had the opportunity to do the Tough Series, I think it was.
Yep.
I think Kyle Noak, the coach.
Yep.
Adrian Pang and all the crew over there in Canada.
Yep.
That experience, going into the experience you already had, now you're with the team, and you would have been the older of the team.
Yep.
What was that like? One, obviously living in a house in Canada with Kyle Noak, Adrian Pang, and some of the other boys.
Oh, they didn't stay with us. They were lucky. They could do what they wanted.
I know what Mr. Noak's like. He's got to have the 5-star.
No, he had it easy. So
you guys just stayed in the house with the Canadians, the Canadians. Okay.
Camera crews in there. It was a horrible experience.
Was it?
I hated it.
Really?
No contact with the family. Obviously, my oldest son's got quite a few health issues. So
yes.
I didn't deal with the situation as well as I could have. I was very stressed about that, and I hated it. So you talk to Jake Matthews or another boy, Tyler.
Yeah, Tyler.
They're like, we could do this any day, and I'm just like,
yeah, right. Because I think I was at the Sunshine Coast back then, but I was hearing through the grapevine, Tyler was a bit of a wild old boy going out partying and then coming back to the house and then having to train and then fight.
No, partying in the house.
Oh, partying in the house.
So we went to a function at we got to watch the Canadians play at the Bell Centre.
Oh, okay.
And he rode himself off.
Really?
Then we went back and he was crazy. But I tell you what, Tyler is probably the most talented individual I've ever met.
Yeah, he was training at Integrated Sunshine Coast when I was there. I didn't have too much to do. He come in a couple of times, and I think it was the part when he come back from the house and he sort of didn't really continue on with his fighting career. I think he was just a bit wayward off some stuff. But Rob Graffita, who was the head coach of Integrated back then, and I was watching Tyler with his fights locally on the Sunshine Coast, and that is a guy that always stood out. And I was like, what a waste of talent. That guy, he had such potential and couldn't, and just didn't go forward with it, which is a sad thing. But anyway, as you say, like when he got to that stage, whether it was just being young and around other crew and just partying and that, obviously obstacles and little sort of enticements on the side always grab you if you're not sort of careful as those. But he was definitely a talent, wasn't he?
Oh, crazy. Most talented guy. I'm in a house with Jake Matthews as well.
Yeah.
And Jake gets narky when I say Tyler was more talented than you were. Fuck off, no one was. But those two boys, ridiculously talented, but Tyler just picked stuff up so easy. And obviously Jake's still one of the top welterweights in the world. He grew up in the octagon.
Yep.
But yeah, those two boys, very talented, very, very talented.
Yeah. And the Canadian experience. Because I think it was snowing over there at that time.
It was cold. It was,
probably minutes. As you say, it wasn't a good experience for you because you're going, well, it's cold, I'm stressed, and then I've got to fight, and I don't even want to really be here.
Yeah, it was shit. It was shit, and it's my fault because I didn't deal with the situation as well as I should have. Okay. Lost the fight in the house, hurt my knee, came out, had one more fight. Luckily, Joe Silva put me in, and then. Yeah, then
that's so you went from the Tough series, I think it's called Nation series, and then that was 2013, 2014. Then obviously, as you say, Joe Silva back then the matchmaker, then introduced you or signed you for the UFC.
Yeah, after I had one more fight. So I had one more fight against a guy called Ben Kelleher.
Yes, yep. You won that, obviously.
I won that in the first round, which was good.
Yeah. So Kimura.
Yes,
I remember. Yeah. so you're gone now. You've signed with the UFC, and you're an older type of competitor. Everyone from my experience when watching the UFC and being involved in the striking side of things with some of them, everyone sort of, to me, it was like you were just the person they were just putting in one to fill the numbers to start with, and then just go, okay, let's just see this. He probably won't win this, but just put him in there. And then you kept winning. You kept winning. What was the mindset? How did you feel when you got in there? And obviously, you're the older competitor. What was your mindset and experience going, right, well, now I've made it you've already done the judo at the highest level in the world. Now you're fighting the world stage with the MMA at the top of stage. What was the mindset there? Did you think that because of whether it was the age or they were putting you in to fight whoever, what was your mindset there? Just to, compete, or obviously you're going to give it a good crack of, the weight division?
So when I first got in, obviously media and social media are very unkind. You don't deserve to be there. So winning that first fight was really, really important because it went, I can do it here.
100%.
I won the second fight in Denver, lost my third, and then went on a 4-fight win streak.
Yes.
And that was where they just kept throwing me in there. And it was cool, actually, because it was being able to relive my athletic career in another athletic career at a high level.
Definitely.
And obviously it was financially rewarding as well.
and at that stage you had the house that you said that, once you start the financial part, and I think with the MMA it's, it was 50% to turn up and then 50% when you win.
Yep, exactly.
So then when you start that, hang on, I'm winning fights and you're getting paid so-called double, that would have been sensational.
It was nice. It was good for the business.
But just rewarding too for, I suppose, the years that you've done a lot of the sport for the love of it.
Yeah, it's definitely a different balance.
Yeah.
Also makes me more grateful for the experiences I had in judo. And that's, judo is always going to be my first passion, but it was really, really interesting. And it was an opportunity for me to compete still.
Yeah.
Like physically, I couldn't do judo because judo, it's 6 days a week, the same thing. Getting hammered all the time. MMA, if I'm physically sore, I can do something else.
That's
so
right.
if I'm too sore to grapple, I can strike. If I'm hands are sore, I can grapple. So I could manage it a little bit differently, and I managed all that myself. So I had good coaches. Andy Colgrave was a great coach, but he's a Muay Thai guy.
Okay, yeah, right.
No MMA experience at all, but he's coached quite a few MMA strikers now, like in the UFC.
Yep.
Jack Jenkins just got signed this week, and he's his striking coach.
Yeah.
So Cal Potter as well. So we've rolled on that way, but I used to manage all of that.
Just yourself.
Just myself
a
through
experience. A little bit different these days, isn't it? Like,
yes.
You got the fighters, then they got the strength conditioning coaches, then they got the nutritionists, then they got this coach, that coach. But again, it's
I did it all myself.
Yeah, that's a crazy,
all myself.
Crazy
the
thing
nutritional
as well.
side.
Yep.
Weight cut. Obviously, in the sessions, the coaches would run, but the overall game plan, overall structure will be discussed.
Yeah.
And then we'd run that way. So it's very different now.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and that helped gain experience for me coaching-wise as well, because I'd already coached a lot in judo.
True.
And that's why Kyle Noak, awesome coach.
Yeah, yeah.
Not awesome coach, awesome guy.
Awesome human.
Coaching-wise, when I went in there, we probably
clashed a little bit.
Not clashed. Just no one clashes with Kyle. He's the nicest guy
true.
on the planet.
There's no arguments with him.
Yeah. So it was just interesting for me because like I had a lot of coaching experience as well, and again, that was my inability to just let go of things and go, okay, we're just here for the ride kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I love Kyle.
Oh yeah, 100%. He's one of the best humans. Even today, he's opened so many doors for me in this MMA world. But just as I say, I've got him on a podcast coming down soon, and you just wouldn't meet another human that is really a genuine dude.
Very genuine dude, and he's Peter Pan. He's never going to grow up, that guy.
No way. And that's why I love talking to him, because when you can get onto him, that is, because you never get onto him. But when you talk to him, and I'm looking forward to spending some time with him, it's just like you're around another kid.
Yeah, exactly.
And that can mean that I'll be back to being a kid again, being that. So you've gone through the UFC sign. We're winning fights. You got the 2014. 2015, and some of the names that you fought, and again, from my outside point of view, which I thought how they were giving you fighters was just to keep putting names in front of you for the other name to advance with a win over Dan Kelly. That's how I seen it, and knowing the fight game that I do, you got Sam Alvey,
he knocked me out, so that wasn't ideal.
What's the mindset from the athlete then, and you go into that fight and you do get knocked out? What's the recovery to that in regards to mindset, motivation? Obviously disappointed. There's a lot of emotions going on. How in your sort of experience, how did you move forward to go, okay, well, that happened to me? Because sometimes you get a fighter who gets knocked out and you don't see him again, might be for 2 years, because it's just plays on their mind and they just can't get past that barrier. But you continued on. Even at the age that you were in the UFC and you were still winning fights, what was that experience being knocked out and then going, this is what I've got to do to get back up and keep going? Was that from the judo experience?
Yeah, 100%. I've lost a heap of judo matches. Never quite. You lost a heap in judo. Didn't always react the best way. Not a good loser at all.
Yeah.
Not a good loser at all. I worked my ass off. For that fight that Eddie had, I was in very, very good shape.
Yeah. Okay.
So all we did was make a few tweaks. Yeah. The interesting thing was when I went into MMA, my body was already broken.
Yeah,
I'd already had a shoulder reco, knee reco.
From the judo.
Needed knee surgery, my hips, my elbow, my wrist, my neck, all that stuff was already not great.
Yeah.
So we just had to manage my physical limitations, but find avenues to victory.
That's right.
That's what we did. So I became more box heavy. I didn't kick that much, especially against southpaws.
Yes, yeah.
And then obviously it's always to get in to be able to fight my game, make it a little bit messy, put pressure on to get into a clinch. So it was all about being able to impose my game. Now, obviously my striking had to be good enough because I've also outstruck some good guys.
100%.
But it was, everyone says awkward style.
Yeah,
Let's say awkward style.
But sometimes when you get tainted with awkward style, and when you're winning those fights, it doesn't really care what style you're doing.
No, I couldn't give a shit.
If you're winning fights and getting paid,
exactly,
who cares? And I know, you've seen over the years boxing, Muay Thai, kickboxing, MMA. You see a lot of people go, he's so awkward. And I'll give you an example like Sam Solomon, the local Melbourne champion, one of the most unorthodox fighters you'll ever see fight, but gets the job done and has got the job done in boxing. And back in the day, even when I was going around kickboxing, he was world champion kickboxer. But he would throw things that we'd think, how did he even throw that? How did he even hit that person with that. But that's, again, sometimes when you're tainted with unorthodox or messy styles, if it's getting the win and the paychecks, it's a win's a win.
Exactly.
You're still ticking the boxes for those.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you obviously going through that with the loss with Sam, 2006 you carry on. You're going through some wins, some losses, and then the ones that obviously 2017 getting close to your finishing time in the MMA world. And the one that does stand out for me is the Rashad Evans fight, because realistically, Rashad Evans was back in the day, middleweight or whatever weight, light heavyweight world champion in the UFC. And that fight, again, when the social media is here we go, oh my God, Dan's going to get KO, oh my God, he's going to get – were you feeling that going into that fight? Obviously, you've got your game plan going into that fight. What was your personal thoughts in regards to leading up to – you're just about to fight pretty much like a Hall of Famer, and everyone's doubting me. That must play on your mind a bit.
Not one little bit.
Really? Wow.
So it was interesting. I was on a 3-fight win streak by then.
Yep.
And I just wanted to get a fight.
Yeah, okay.
And they couldn't match me. And I got a call from Mick Maynard, will you fight Rashad Evans? And I was actually at lunch with Andy, my coach, and Cal Potter. I'm like, am I allowed to fight Rashad Evans in 6 weeks? Because we've been training.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. I said, yeah, no problem. Done. It was his first drop to middleweight because he'd had some issues getting clearance. Vegas, they clear everyone.
100%.
First fight at middleweight, just pure excitement.
Wow,
pure excitement.
Yeah.
That's the challenge I wanted.
Yeah,
I was just awesome.
Yep.
Awesome. So I didn't really care.
No.
I didn't care what anyone else said. I really don't normally anyway. If I cared what other people said, I probably wouldn't have started MMA.
You wouldn't have even started judo probably.
Exactly right. So it's just like, I didn't care. That was just so exciting. The only interesting thing was I remember being first in the cage, being in the blue corner, standing there, and then his music coming on and him walking out, I just went, holy fuck, that's Rashad Evans coming this way. Wow.
Am I actually watching him or am I actually fighting him?
Exactly. He's coming this way. And then as soon as the cage door shuts, you go straight into business mode anyway. That was an awesome experience.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome experience.
And the game plan leading up to that, obviously you're taking on one of the icons of the MMA world. What was, and you're trying to, again, manage your body at that stage. And obviously your mindset, as you say, is strong as ever because you're just going, I need a challenge. So nothing wrong with the mindset. The body you're managing and then the game plan going into that fight. What was the coaches or yourself, what was that game plan?
Always. So big thing we noticed, it's very specific with Rashad, is he didn't like hand fighting. So when John Jones fought him, didn't like hand fighting. Added to which he doesn't like southpaws. Luckily I was a southpaw.
Yeah.
So we worked on that hand fighting. Because of the judo background, obviously wrestlers shoot. So it was always about crowding and pressure and everything went to plan. I couldn't take him down, but he really didn't take me down either.
No.
So that was nullified, and I outstruck him.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that was the interesting part from a striker's point of view. And I'm watching the fight, and I'm seeing you outstrike Rashad, and I'm like, man, at that stage in 2007, I'm sitting there going, I think Dan's got this. After every round went by, I'm like, I think Dan's got it. He's out doing it. And what I liked about it, that really stands out about that fight, every time I think of that fight, every now and again, and I go, the tapping of the front foot.
Yeah, the little trip, yes.
The little trip on the front foot.
Yep.
Which then seemed to then heighten your striking with the hands, which caught him off guard. Was the tapping of the foot, was that in the actual game plan as well leading up to that?
Absolutely.
Who come up with that?
Absolutely.
Marvellous idea.
So orthodox to southpaw, I'll often hit the front foot, helps me gauge range, also ensures that my foot's on the outside, which, as you know, that's the rule, opposite stance against opposite stance, win the foot battle. That ensured that, and it also made him always have to turn, which meant I had the first shot at him, and then I could keep cutting angle again. So that was part of the plan, and because he's quite heavy on his front foot, as a boxer more, it worked quite well.
Yeah. I'll see every time you tapped, and it's good when you see that game plan when you tap the front foot, their weight falls forward because their weight on their front foot so heavy, but then puts you in the range of that punching. And that's where I seen once the foot was tapped and your left cross was landing, your hooks were landing, and I'm like, that's when I was like, Dan's got this fight. Like he's winning the striking, and I thought Rashad would have gone back to the wrestling or tried to take you down, which he tried to take down, but again didn't take you down. I thought that was in my mind all the time. I always thinking whenever someone, Dan Kelly, I always think the fight that I always remember is the Rashad Evans one. In regards to that foot tapping, was an ideal game plan, and that's why I thought, man, that's the game plan. Whoever come up with that, as you say yourself, was a genius idea. Now, and then you face Derek Bronson.
Yeah, that was a horrible experience.
Where was that fight? Obviously, it was UFC 110 or something.
No, it was in New Zealand.
Oh, okay. Was that
Mark
Ford,
Hunt,
Big Beast,
Derek Lewis? Yes,
the Black Beast or something. Yep. That's right. Because I think I had Ross Pearson over there.
Yes,
and he fought Dan Hooker.
Yes,
and that wasn't a very memorable night for me either.
No, it wasn't a great night.
Ross again had to get new teeth for that one.
Yep.
Sing out to Roscoe. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'll say that's right. I do remember on that card, and I think who was the coach in your corner at that time? Because I remember dealing with him in kickboxing a lot.
And Andrew Colgrave. Yep, that's my main coach.
Yeah,
and also Brett Franklin.
That's yep. One. When we used to travel to Melbourne back in the day with kickboxing, I used to see Brett Franklin. He was quite a great.
He was an excellent
kickboxer back in the day.
Excellent Muay Thai. Good southpaw. I did a lot of training with him, and he was a great guy to have around.
Yeah, and a good human too. Like 100%. A really just genuine, just friendly,
big,
friendly
strong.
guy.
He was in a clinch and a grapple as well.
Yep.
Which we did a lot.
Yeah,
like they used to call him the Beast.
Yeah,
he was really good.
Yeah, very very good skills as a kickboxer and Muay Thai back in the day. Even when I was traveling to Melbourne for fights.
Yep.
He would be on the cards, and I'd always be interested in going, I'm going to watch this dude. I think he broke his leg there at one stage.
Yes.
Because he was fighting
Trevor Looms.
That's right. Yep, old Trevor Looms, the journeyman.
Yep.
And I thought, wow, Brett will just, take this to town. And then I think he done an inside kick and
broke
Trevor, man, that was a terrible night. I remember that. I was at that event and I was like, oh no, that was, but I think he carried on after
came back after that. He's got a big plumbing business now down in Geelong. Yep.
Oh wow, really?
So I haven't seen Brett for ages, but he was an awesome part of my journey and a great guy.
Yeah.
Always brought good gravity to the situation.
Yeah.
So good. Good.
I haven't crossed paths with him too much in my time since the early days of coming down here for fights, Muay Thai or kickboxing, but he always stood out as one of the great dudes that I always crossed paths with, and he was just a genuine, respectful dude.
Yeah. He was good. Him and Andy, they were coached by Jeb.
Okay, yes.
And so that's where all that connection came from. Andy and Brett are good mates. Yep. And then, so my corner was two Muay Thai guys and Gustavo Falciori, who's a MMA BJJ guy, but Gustavo's crazy. Great knowledge of MMA and BJJ, but
just crazy.
Crazy guy. So.
And that's why we tend to hang around, don't we? Sometimes it sort of gives us a little bit. Then you obviously 2017, you fought Elias.
Yeah, Elias, who just passed away.
I know.
Unfortunately,
I was going to say that's crazy how because I think I spent some time with him in Sydney.
Yep.
And you would have been in the house with him.
Yep.
In Canada for the Tough Series. That was quite a bit of a shock to me.
Yeah, very sad
because he didn't really. You didn't hear much of it.
No.
What he was dealing with.
No, well, yeah. It just all of a sudden came up. Very sad.
Yeah. And that's you lost that fight.
Yeah.
That was the 2000 and but that was only for unanimous decision in regards
that was probably my worst fight in the UFC.
True that.
Yeah, I wasn't good mentally.
Yeah.
He annoyed me a little bit in social media before because I thought we're on good terms.
Yeah, okay. So he done his job.
Yeah, he did his job really well.
Mental warfare.
Really well. But also, I was 40 then. So my body was
ready to finish up.
It was, you train one day, and it'd take me 2 days, and I'd still train, but it'd take me 2 days to fully recover from a heavy training session. And
When you get to that stage, it's pretty hectic, isn't it?
It's hard, yeah. Hard, but the stubbornness in me just wanted to keep dragging on. And then by the time we had the last fight, it was just, I just physically couldn't train enough. I'd feel fragile most of the time training.
And the weight cut's not how would that, easy. Like your body's obviously coping through that. You're 40 years of age now. Where mentally do you sit with that? Like it's you half of you going, no, I'm a persistent bastard. I just want to keep pushing. And obviously different factors. One, your competitiveness. Two,
that never stops. That never stops.
Two, you're going, I still want to keep making good coin while I can. But mentally, are you telling yourself, just keep pushing, your body can't handle it or is going through that stage? What's your mental capacity at that, 2017?
2017, 18, just keep pushing, but it was hard.
Yeah.
It was hard. And, you just have to accept you get old. You know?
100%,
if my body was still okay, I'd still be competing.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah, the mind probably
stop,
still always stays strong.
But the body, you just have to accept you don't. I've gotten very fat now. That's probably a defense mechanism.
I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say that jumper fits beautiful.
So that was probably a bit of a defense mechanism as well.
Okay.
To just go, you can't do it anymore physically.
Yeah.
Not ideal.
Yeah.
But I was 40, almost 41. When I had my last fight.
Was that the last fight with 2018?
Yeah, 2018 in Liverpool. And
in London?
In London, yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I've never obviously had any pharmaceutical help that some of the other older guys have competed with. Now, I know what it's like competing at an older age.
I was going to say,
it's not so easy when you're a clean athlete.
No.
You know, and I've been tested since I was 18 with judo.
Oh, true.
So
you would have been
all the way through my career, and obviously with the UFC, not so easy.
Yeah,
not so easy with no help.
But that's what I mean. That's, I suppose, when you talk about Mark Hunt now, when he's going on the crusade in his lawsuits with MMA franchise.
Yep.
Then basically now, from your point of view, now you can understand why. Probably that point, and anyone can understand when you go, hey, he's cheating. I wasn't cheating, but I'm losing.
Yeah. No, I've spoken to Mark about it before, but it's just that's what they do.
And get away with it sometimes, but it's not a.
There's no real punishment. It's just time out, and then they're straight back in. That's the frustrating thing. They go, oh, you're suspended for 12 months. We'll keep your contract.
Yeah.
And you'll have another big money fight in 12 months. Just go and do something else.
Yeah.
So the drug cheats, same as in judo, in all Olympic sports.
Is it?
No, judo's much harsher.
Is it?
But it's also up to the national federations as well.
Okay.
So they get suspended, but the national federation can still look after them. You think about Russia.
Oh,
with its state funded.
Yeah, right. Yeah, true.
So it's just the Brazilians aren't great either. No. So, but you kind of know what you're getting yourself into in sport.
True that.
So that's the flip side. You go, I can bitch and moan.
That's right.
Or I can just go, I'm going to beat you even if you are going to cheat.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So. Yeah, no, that's understandable. So when 2018, you finish up with your career, what and during that time, obviously, as you said earlier on with the family-wise, I mean, that takes its toll on the family. But the plus side, you said the wife is in the Judo Federation.
Yep.
So that probably helps your cause where being away from home a lot helps the home because she's your boss, so to speak. Well, she's your boss at home and in the office.
She's my boss everywhere. Everywhere. I at the gym, I'm kind of allowed to do what I want.
Yeah,
but
true that.
She's my boss, but she's awesome. And because she was a high-level athlete herself.
She understands.
But that's how lucky our judo program is.
Yeah,
They've got someone with that experience that knows, like, leading the way kind of thing. So they're very lucky with her.
Yeah. And your son, you said, was going through a bit of troubles as well.
So he's actually got a rare genetic disease. He's had a kidney transplant.
Oh, he already has he?
Already has had. So, but that's, we've been dealing with that since he was born.
Yeah, okay.
So that's he's okay at the moment.
Yep.
But that's always something we have to deal with.
Always just dealing with it at that time.
Yep.
And and so going through your career and obviously family life, but just life in general, if a younger person coming along, male or female these days, everything's going through the sporting side, and you're sort of more, you're experienced and you're coaching, you're everything mentor, whatever you like to call yourself. What's the advice, one that you've received, the best that you can remember for advice, and obviously what advice would you give?
So it's interesting now with coaching and stuff with how kids are today. Yes. I sound like a real old man saying that, but around accountability and being grateful.
Yep.
But always be accountable.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing.
Yep.
I always, the first person I'd blame if something wasn't good was myself.
Yep.
Not anyone else. Don't make excuses. If you want to do it, in combat sport especially, it's 100%. A hard task. And business. The more people you want to blame externally, the less far you're going to go.
The less
blame yourself,
Yep.
Be accountable, and be grateful for anything that happens. That's the biggest things, and that's what I drum into people. Be accountable.
Yep.
Be happy and grateful.
Yeah. No, that's and definitely great advice. Great advice. So when I come to it and I go, if I was to, throughout everything that you've achieved, everything you've done, everything you've experienced, what is Dan Kelly's rich life? When because a lot of people, as I say, when I say rich life, I'm not talking about, okay, it's all about having $1 million in the bank, because everyone has their own rich life. What if today, sitting here, what's Dan Kelly's rich life?
That's a good question. I mean, we love the judo stuff. We've just bought a cabin in the country.
Beautiful.
Need to spend more time with the family, definitely. Yep. But then obviously we're in qualifying for Paris. Life balance is important, which I suck at.
Yeah, right.
I absolutely suck at. But life balance needs to improve.
Yep.
But I'm happy.
Yeah,
I'm happy most of the time. So.
Yeah. As long as you're happy, that is the main thing, my friend. So again, over the Olympic Games, 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012. So there's not, as I say, there wasn't too many people in Australia that's done and competed as you have. You've had 17 matches in the MMA side of things with 13 wins, and 4th Dan black belt in judo. That's crazy. 1st degree black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So throughout your whole life, that's dedicated to, since you're 7 years old, is an amazing accomplishments in regards to that. And for today, just sitting down on the Rich Life projects, mate, I appreciate your time, and man, it's been good to get the insight of Dan Kelly that people probably wouldn't hear of too much of, these days, or even when you're fighting, what the behind the scenes are. So I appreciate your time, my friend. It's always good when we do catch up when we got the time. But thank you for being on the Rich Life project, mate, and I really appreciate your time.
No worries. Thanks for having me on, Rich.